If everything had gone according to plan, Sid Caesar would probably still be playing a saxophone for a living. That's what he was doing when the war began. But by the time the war was over, Sid had already established himself as a promising young comedian. His pals in the Coast Guard went further. They thought he was great. That may or may not have been coincidence, and his specialty was satire on the Coast Guard brass. Whatever the case, Sid Caesar has come a long way in show business, and he's still very much on the move. When he isn't rehearsing or doing his own new television show, Caesar's Hour, Sid Caesar usually is home watching someone else on TV. Together with his wife, Florence, whom he married 11 years ago, and their 2 children, the Caesars live in this building off Park Avenue here in New York. We're expected, so let's go in. Evening, Sid.
Good evening, Ed.
What are you doing?
The kids were here, you know, and then all the technicians were here, and I mean the lights and everything.
Am I sleeping?
No, you're not sleeping yet. But I couldn't put them to sleep. We gave them a nap this afternoon, and they wanted to be on television. We couldn't keep up because everybody's here, so I told them he'd be on television. This is my son, Richard.
Good evening, Richard.
And may I do a trick with Richard? He wants to do it, and
Good.
As soon as we do it, he'll go to sleep, okay?
Sure, 5.
Okay, Ricky, here we go. I'm going to wind you up. And I take the key. Okay, Vicky, you were on television, okay, baby?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Sid, maybe we could talk them to sleep. I'm told that my 8-year-old son generally goes to sleep in the middle of a broadcast that I do at 7:45.
No, not these kids. They won't go to sleep unless they're on television. Okay, and now I have my daughter, Michelle. Shelley.
Hello.
Good
Hello.
evening. How are you?
Fine.
You sleepy?
No.
Oh, good.
No, she had a nap this afternoon, and she's only 7 years old, and she's going to go to sleep right away. You want to be on television? I said you could be, okay?
Good night.
Good night. Say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, here we go. Good night.
Sid, do the children ever make you work while you're at home?
No, they don't. I'm not a comedian at home, actually.
Oh, Mrs. Caesar, good evening.
Hello,
This is my
Ed.
wife, Miss Florence Caesar.
How are you?
Fine.
Tell me, is Sid funny at home?
Well, everybody asks me that. You know, people think that I keep laughing constantly. And it's not true. I'm not laughing all the time. Because Sid takes his work very seriously, you know. I think most comedians do, and they worry a lot, and he does. He's very serious about it, because comedy is a serious business.
Well, now, Sid, while Florence was talking...
I didn't want to interrupt him, so I...
No, neither did I. But I was thinking about something I once read by Will Rogers, when he said that you have to have a serious streak in you, or you can't see the funny side in the other fellow. Do you agree with that?
Well, I could go into a long dissertation on that, but I won't. But I will say this, that comedy is a serious business because you have to see the serious part of life, because comedy, like if somebody falls downstairs, you actually feel sorry for them. But while they're falling down the stairs, they look funny coming down. But after it's over, you go over and pick them up, naturally. So in that way, that's the way the comedy is funny. It's the spur of the moment, the absolute thing that you hit at that time, you know what I mean?
Sid, do you ever look back on the days when you were staking out a career with the saxophone?
You mean a very hungry career? Yes, I do. I was putting him, trying to get a membership in the local 408. 480?
802?
802, I'm sorry. 802. You're right, Florence. And I was a I was a doorman. You got so many cameramen, I don't know. I was a doorman at the Capitol Theater, and that's where I had to work before I could become a member of the union. And a woman came up to me one time, and she said, do I have time enough to catch the beginning of the picture if I go in and have a sandwich? So I said, well, what kind of sandwich are you going to eat? And she said, I may have a peanut and bacon sandwich. Will that be all right? And I said, well, you better have a little soda with it so the peanut butter will go down faster. And she did. And she went inside, and I kept looking through the window, and I kept on saying 3, 2, 1. And finally I said, "You're on." She came running out with half a sandwich to see the picture when I was a doorman at the Capitol Theater.
Well, Sid, television can be tough on the body, I know, or at least so I'm told. What do you do for relaxation in your spare time?
Well, I'll show you in just a moment. Florence, would you excuse me for a moment, baby?
Sure.
She's beautiful, and you got to pay attention.
Is it all right if we start planning a television program called Caesar's Wife?
Listen, it's up to you. This is my gun room. This is my hobby. I used to do a lot of hunting. I have a double-barreled Browning over and under.
12 gauge.
Here. And then I have a 220 Swift with a six-power scope.
Yes.
And which is actually the fastest bullet in the world, commercial-wise. Then I have a 375 Magnum and a lot of other rifles, but it's with this rifle that I killed this baby right here.
Now, tell me about that.
Well, it's a heartbreaking story because I never... Ouch! I never killed any other animal outside of this deer. And the way it happened was that I was on a stand. You know, usually other men drive and I stand, or you drive and they stand.
Yes.
But in this way, I happened to be put on a stand. And all of a sudden, this was after 9 days of looking for deer, you know what I mean? What are you moving? Stay right there. Stay right there. And then I happened to see this deer because he's still moving, because I still don't believe I got him. And I just happened to, I saw him. I happened to go over a barbed wire fence, and I naturally put the safety on my gun.
Yes.
And I put the gun over the fence first, and then I went over the fence. And then I finally saw this deer, and I said, there it is. And I finally saw it, and I tried to pull this trigger, and naturally I had buck fever. And I couldn't see it, you know. I couldn't get him in the sights, so I just put off the safe, and bang! I shot him. I ran over to him, and he got up. Then I ran back for the gun. The deer ran on, and I ran over, and I finally, when he did fall down. He fell about 100 yards from there. I ran over to him, and I put on the deer card, you know, on his horns.
Yes.
And then after that, I spelled my name wrong. So you see, I really didn't want to kill him in the first place.
And he's still moving.
And he's still moving. And I love him. Now I want to show you something else, Ed.
Yeah.
You're following back in the living room.
Good.
Wow. I also have an interest in art. And this is my famous, not my famous, but my favorite painting. It's a Vlaming. And it's also over here, if you'll follow me down here.
I'm following you.
This is a Marini, which was given to me by an Imogene Coker, which is a very wonderful piece of sculpture, if you take a look at it.
Well, which is your favorite painting, Sid?
My favorite painting?
Yes.
This is my professional favorite painting.
Yes.
But my favorite painting is this, painted by my wife, Florence. It's a picture of our house in Westport. And I don't know how to say it, but she happened to capture it. It's not really professional, but it's it. She really captured the feeling of the whole place up there.
How did you happen to get interested in paintings in the first place?
Well, I'll tell you. I happened to read a book called Lust for Life by Irving Stone. It's about the life of Van Gogh. And through this, I happened to see a kinsmanship in art. And it's what I want to do in comedy. Actually, is to give what Van Gogh or the Impressionists saw of life. That's what I want to do in comedy. Just try to give an impression and maybe exaggerate it a little bit. You know what I mean?
I think I do. Sid, how long do you rehearse for that full-hour show?
Well, we rehearse an entire week. We really go, we start, our show's on Monday. We take a day off on Tuesday, which the cast does, which I don't. But I go through right through Wednesday, right through to Monday.
Well, Florence, from what Sid says, when he isn't rehearsing, he's pretty much of a homebody. Is that right?
Yes, he is, Ed. In fact, I'll tell you, we've always wanted to go to Europe, and 3 years ago we did. And we had it planned very carefully. We had, the tour all planned by an agency. We had it changed and altered and fixed up, reservations and everything. It was supposed to have been for 9 weeks. And we sailed over on the Liberté. We got to Paris. And we were there a few days, and, Sid wasn't too happy there. It was all, so strange, of course. And he couldn't get cold water, and he couldn't get cigars, and he just wasn't too happy. Well, finally, someone gave us tickets to the Grand Prix. It's a famous race there.
Yes.
And, we went there, and we tried to find our seats, and we never could. We showed it to the ushers there, and nobody knew where the seats were. It was all just such a mystery. We never did get to it. So Sid said finally, he says, Florence, let's go home. And I thought he meant back to the hotel. I said, no, home to America. Home we went, and that's how much of a homebody he is.
So you came back after 3 days?
Yes.
Yeah, we went over. It
3
took
days.
us 6 days to get over, but it took us about 12 hours to get back.
Flew right back.
Sid, if you weren't Sid Caesar, the comedian, what would you like to be? What would you like to do?
Well, I'll tell you, Ed, if I wasn't Sid Caesar, the comedian, I'd like to be Albert Einstein. That's who I'd like to be. Because he's given so much to the world. And he's a great man, and I'd like to actually contribute 1/1000th as much as he has contributed to the world. And what he will give to the world will not be known for another few hundred years.
And I'd be Mrs. Einstein. That's it.
Well, I think that is something that I would like to be, too. Neither one of us are going to approach it, but...
Hot.
Is he perspiring this?
Yeah, you got a lot of lights here, Ed.
I know, we have down here, too. Thank you very much indeed, Sid Caesar and Mrs. Caesar, for letting us come and visit you this evening.
Entirely welcome.
It's been very pleasant indeed. Do you think the children are asleep now?
I doubt it.
We hope so.
Well, we'll hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much indeed.